Welcome back to another episode of the Football Pundits. It's FPL time, game week 32 plus. This week, it's double trouble for me. It's me versus the two Kerns, the high-flying Kerns, and me, Mr. Almost Know-It-All, languishing at the bottom of his league. Before we go ahead today, guys, any words of wisdom for me? Anything?
Just don't listen to yourself. Listen to
Wow.
anyone but yourself.
Listen to the
Wow.
pundits.
That's kind of listening to
Yes.
myself. I don't know. Till you figure that out, guys, go hit subscribe and we'll get back to this. This game week, let's look at the fixtures and the teams who we think will get you the points you need. Now that Liverpool's done with the league and their fans are very happy in bed, let the FPL fans get on the action. Let them double down and probably seal their league, make it to the top, right? Karan Bawari, which is the team or which are the teams you're looking at for this game week?
So I think there are a few teams that have good fixtures. Wolves are one of them. Arsenal's one of them. United have a great run of fixtures. There's Newcastle for the next 2 game weeks at least. There's Chelsea. There's Spurs. So there's a bunch of options this week, right? You've got points to be had in the front of the park and also at the back. So it depends. If you pick and choose wisely, I think there are points to be had across board.
I think one of the fixtures that I'm looking at is the Crystal Palace versus Burnley. You would not say that in a regular fan way, but as an FPL manager, that's a game that is primed to be a 0-0, right? So if you're looking for easy clean sheet points from cheap defenders, that's probably a game that you can look at. But in general, I think this game week is really tricky because what's going to happen is that teams are playing the FA Cup and the Premier League. So that's never happened before. It's generally double up with a double game week. So whereas Wolves are playing on the first game day, United are playing a few days later after they've played the FA Cup game. So you don't know what's happening with the team news. You don't know if your player's going to play on Saturday but then get injured. So it's going to be very tricky that way. I think this week the key will be to look at players who you think are absolutely going to start even within those fixtures.
It's interesting. You all covered a few fixtures. What about the Wolves assets? It's a good time to have Wolves players in your team, right? Because last week I told you I went with all 3 of my players and they gave me returns. So what about this week? They're playing Aston Villa.
I've been harping on since the first game week on this, and people are probably bored of this. I just keep saying go for Wolves, and that's obviously still there. They're doing extremely well. They have nothing else to fight for. This is the Champions League run is where they want, they're going to give it everything. Jimenez looks great. Traore looks great. Doherty looks great. There's a couple of differentials in there as well that we'll discuss a bit later. But once again, go for the Wolves assets. Their fixtures are going to start to turn after a couple of game weeks. So now is the time to cash in on them.
Also, I think a couple of points in favor of Wolves, guys, is that Wolves are very, very solid defensively as well. They have only let in 4 big chances in the last 6 games, right? And that's a pretty solid stat. And all of their defenders, I think Doherty is obviously the most expensive, but they're very affordable. Yeah. And there could be great points to be had as far as Wolves is concerned. And of course, in the front, we've got Jimenez, who's a leader of the pack. So Wolves assets all the way through.
I think we all agree on this one. But a question which is on a lot of managers' mind that Liverpool has now won the league. What do you do with your Liverpool assets and your Man City assets, since Man City also plays in the FA Cup this weekend?
So first up, big congratulations to Liverpool. I think it's a solidly well-deserved title, as much as you guys disagree. Right.
We've done a whole other episode on this. If you're here for that, go there.
I edited that for 2 hours. I'm done now. Continue, sorry.
All right, boys, I hear you. But FPL and in the FPL zone, you've got to stick with the City and the Liverpool boys, right? Because this one's personal, right? City will not want to give a guard of honor to Liverpool. They wouldn't want to, but they'll have to do it. And not just that, they'll have to do it at the Etihad. Fans or not, it's going to hurt them, right? Social distancing or not, it's going to hurt them, right? So they wouldn't want the Liverpool to have the last laugh. They'll say, you know what, you've taken the title, but we'll want to beat you at home. And Liverpool will be super charged up. They'd want to make many goals come through. They'd want a clean sheet. They'd want all the points. So I'd say the standard picks that we've had all along, don't drop them if you have them. This is not the time, whether it's Trent, whether it's KDB, whether it's Salah, whether it's Mane. These guys are there for the taking. They will get you points. Do not discount these teams.
I agree with you on this. I think because I will stick with Van Dijk and Mane in my team till the end of the season. I don't see any reason to take them out. They will go for the record, is what I personally feel. And when it comes to Kevin De Bruyne, must have in your team. No reason to take him out again. Aguero's missing. He is their focal point. Kern, we've covered our Man City and Liverpool assets. A lot of questions are coming in about, would you now go in for an Anthony Martial? Would you go in for a Rashford? Manchester United have the most favourable fixtures in the top 4 run, don't they?
United definitely have the most favourable fixtures, and not just saying this as a United fan because I try and keep that separate from my FPL.
Yeah.
But
we are very
you
not
need
biased.
to triple up on United assets. You need to triple up on United assets right now because they have everything. They have the form going. They have the fixtures going. They have something to play for. It'll be silly not to go out and get 3 United players. Which ones they are, though, is the tricky one here. Martial obviously made life difficult for FPL managers with his hat-trick last week. I'm not going to get him just yet. I think that'll be a knee-jerk reaction just to get him in because we know that, he blows hot and cold. Yes, he is going to, benefit a lot with supply coming in now from not just Bruno, but also Pogba. And Pogba coming in might, in fact, take some points away from Bruno. Pogba is going to start getting some of the assists that Bruno was. So that way, yes, maybe Bruno's appeal slightly diminishes and Martial's increases. But wait for one more game week before you go on there. My picks so currently for United is in defense and then Bruno and Rashford.
I got an interesting idea while you were saying that. Let's go about this position-wise, right? So let's start with the goalkeeper. KB, I'll throw it to you first. Pope was solid in his last game. He had a bad game against City, but we knew that was a one-off. Burnley have decent fixtures. Would you stick to Pope, who's number 1 asset in the FPL, or would you recommend a cheaper option?
Actually, both. I'd say Pope is a definite. It's a must-have. I have Pope in my team, but I also have Martinez, and I think he's a no-brainer, right, at 4.2. So you always wonder that you want your goalkeepers to be within at best the 9 million mark. In this case, you've almost hit the 9 million. If you had Pope from before, then you've obviously paid a lot lesser than the 5 that he is at now. And Martinez is a no-brainer now because he's the reserve goalkeeper and Leno's not coming back anytime soon. So Pope and Martinez is for me the best combination that you can find. There's also other goalkeepers. There's Henderson who's back. There's Schmeichel, but those are a little extra. So there's Foster as well. But I'd stick to Pope and Martinez as the combination, as the duo.
Yeah, if you're bringing someone in, I'd say Martinez as well, 1.5% ownership as of now. And because it's Arsenal, he gets a lot of save points. So even if he might not get you the clean sheet, he's definitely going to be facing the shots and he's going to bring you a lot of save points.
I don't think there's been a single easy day for any Arsenal fan watching any of our episodes, right? It's a tough one. But I agree with you guys. Martinez is a blind pick. Another option, since we discussed Wolves earlier, so I'll just do a throwback. Patricio at 5.1. I think he's 5.2 now. He's not a bad option. Again, he will get you clean sheets. Going on to defenders, and you all mentioned Martinez as a good keeper you must have right now. Is Serge Aurier at 5 a must have since his ownership is less than 10%?
I think Aurier is a good option. He's a, if I may say so, a wacko. You don't know when he's going to get you that red card, but he is not just the cheapest Spurs asset out there, but he is also the most high scoring, right? So in that sense, it's a double whammy. If you're prepared to take the odd risk with him getting a yellow card, maybe a red card, then I think Aurier is always an option.
Yeah, Aurier is a good option for me too. But I'd say if we're going into defense, and he mentioned Rui Patricio, I'd say if you're going for Wolves, go for a defender rather than a keeper, because I generally go for a keeper when I know he's going to get me save points, and I don't know where else in that team's defender to go for. But because Wolves have such great defenders who give you bonus points every single week, I'd say go for a Doherty or go for a Saiss, who's much cheaper and gets you a lot bonus points. That's my pick for defense.
Yeah, and at this point, I want to remind our managers that we don't recommend you use a wild card yet for this game week. We would say if you've kept it so far, hold on for one more game week. You could have injuries coming in the FA Cup. You could have players being rested. And anyway, we have a very compressed mini league going on as it is. So don't add pressure on yourself. Wait for one more week. You've already done a good job so far, right? And earlier, Karan Bavari told us about hanging on to your Liverpool assets, right? So when it comes to our midfield, if you have Mane, Salah, or Mane and KDB, if you have either of those two or two out of those three, hang on to them. But what about the rest? If you want your Grealish out, for example, he's not been good. I think it's time to have him out because Villa look like they're going down for sure. It's almost a formality right now. Who would you get in, guys? I took him out last week.
I have Grealish in my team. I got him in for the double game week, and it's been absolutely frying me. He's given me absolutely no returns.
At least I did something right this year.
For me, it's sort of been an easy switch, but also a complicated one. So I've switched him out straight for Pulisic. I think it makes complete sense. Chelsea's fixtures coming up are really good. Pulisic looks like their main attacking output right now. He's quick, he's in form, everything works for him. The only reason this makes it tricky for me because I also have Mount in my team. So I'm currently sitting on a double up in the Chelsea midfield, which might not be a bad thing, might be a decent enough gamble. But I think if you have a Grealish, the best swap out for him right now is Pulisic.
I can see KB inching for the right answer for this. He knows the answer to that. Go for it.
No, look, it's clear. I think I agree with Karan 100%. Pulisic is the man from Chelsea right now. If you have two, I've had Mount for the most part of the season. I had to make way for these last few game weeks, and that's why I dropped him because I didn't know what the restart was going to be like. But he's there and he's performing. And if I wouldn't think doubling up on Chelsea is a bad idea. I never think that. You can go triple, guys, if you want.
And I think it's
he's
important.
Biased, I'm not.
I think it's important to mention that he's a Chelsea fan, guys. If you forgot last week, he's a hardened Chelsea fan. And to add a slight comment to this, right? And I think last week we mentioned Bergwijn, Dele Alli, and Son. They are still as relevant as midfield picks as they were last week as differentials. Son's ownership has gone up. Bergwijn, Dele Alli, Lucas Moura are still below 10%. And I think it's good to maybe back them. Mourinho really wants to go for it. He has nothing else but the league to go for. They have to give it an all because Chelsea have 5 points clear on the top in fourth place right now. And all Spurs and United have to do is really go for it, right? Coming to our forward line. And again, it's another trouble point, right? Aubameyang. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Arsenal team and Arsenal players are really, really causing us problems right now. KB will go with you first because I think Kern needs like 10 seconds to cool down, maybe longer. Would you hook off Aubameyang this week? Or looking at Norwich, would you keep him for one more game week?
One more. You've hung around with him for so long, right? He's not cheap. He's 11 million, maybe dropping, but still 11 million as of right now. I think given that it's Norwich, given that it's a makeshift team always, given that they have a rotation going on, I always think that Aubameyang is a good option. And not just that, he's had a fairly long dry spell as per his standards. I think it's 4 goals without a game. So he's due a big score, and it may come in Norwich. But that's all I'd say. Stick with him for one more game week, and then you have a ready replacement if you've got the funds in Harry Kane. And I think it also works in the favor of Harry Kane in that, you want to give him one more game week. And, Spurs fixtures are pretty awesome. So it's a direct swap. But keep him one more game week is what I'd say.
Yeah, I think Bawari's covered the Aubameyang, conundrum really well. I'm in a similar conundrum along with Jack Grealish. He was my other fantastic double game week pick. I didn't let go of him this far. It'll be really silly for me to let go of him before Norwich. But what I'm going to want to add here is the other forwards. Obviously Aubameyang takes up one spot. I think the other two picks for me, yes, we've been harping on and on about Wolves' assets. Jimenez has to be in there also because he's so highly owned. If you don't have him in your team, you're going to really miss out because everyone around you is going to earn points in him. If you're looking at slightly cheaper options, there's another one in Arsenal itself with Eddie Nketiah. He's been playing. He's been getting points. He's really, really cheap. He might be a good pick. And one of the other picks for me in the forward line who could actually be a captain pick for this week is Marcus Rashford.
Interesting. I think, Karan Bavari, please go for it.
I'll throw in Dominic Calvert-Lewin in there as well. He's been there and thereabouts in the periphery. I know Everton's aren't scoring very much. I think they've been pretty poor after the restart. I know it's just been 2 games, but it's in them. They will score. Calvert-Lewin is going to score, and he's definitely got to be in there as well.
I think we've done a good job with the players we should have. But coming to a few differentials which we haven't plugged in yet. KR, what are your differentials for this week? Would you consider anybody apart from who you've already mentioned? Your gut.
Yeah, I think Fernandez from Newcastle is a fantastic differential. Newcastle are up against the Bournemouth team that's without Wilson, who picked up his 10th yellow, so he's out for this game. Josh King is a doubt with his ankle injury. Bournemouth in general aren't doing very well. Newcastle have been on the other end doing well defensively. He's 3.5% owned, really cheap. I think Fernandez is my differential pick for this week.
KB?
Bawari.
This isn't going to be very popular, guys, but you know what? I'm gonna put it out. Go out on a limb here. One person, we've been going on about Wolves' assets. I'm not going to talk about Traore. I think one person who got me a few points is not going to get you lots of points, but a great differential in its true spirit is Pedro Neto. I was very surprised when I first took him because I'd taken him on a recommendation. He's 0.2% owned, guys. 0.2. And he will get you an assist or a goal here and there. Right? It's not like Jimenez has been firing a lot of shots and converting them. Of course, I think he got one shot last game. So I'm not
Just one, yeah.
I'm not saying he's not going to score. He is. But, Neto is where the assist could potentially come from as well, or even score. So, yeah, it's not the Pulisic of the world. We've already spoken of him. That's why I'm not speaking of him. But I think Neto is an option still.
And I'm just going to go with a shot in the dark here. At 4.3, Mason Greenwood. He does look like he might start a few games. He would be playing on the right, but he would be linking up with Rashford, with Pogba and Bruno likely behind them. It could be interesting, guys. One to keep an open mind about. Do not laugh at me. Do it later. I think now was something we've all been waiting for. And assuming we use no chips, no triple captain chip, and no free hit. Just plain old captaincy, guys. Who would you guys go for?
Can't you go first?
Which Kern? Kern to Kern. This is confusing.
So the obvious pick, I think, here is Jimenez, right? Seeing that he's up against Villa, and why he appeals to me is also because he plays first. I want to just put that captain's armband on someone, they play, and then I'm not at the edge of my seat till the end. Having said all of that, I might just double down on my backing of Aubameyang and captain him. He's up against Norwich. I'm paying well enough of my FPL money for him. I think I'm going to just try and summon all my courage and go with Aubameyang captain.
Yeah, I think that's right, Karan, because, if you're playing 11 million for a player, you better captain him, right, in some sense, especially against Norwich. So I think it's a good pick. I was also very keen on Jimenez, but just this whole performance in the last game with just one shot, and of course he's converted, but what's the likelihood of converting the sole shot every single time? And I know Villa is also biting and hungry, and he's in my forward line, and he's my vice captain as of now. He could yet be captain, but I think given the entire euphoria around Liverpool, given how good Salah has been for me, I think I'm going to go with Salah one more game week because there are points to be had from him.
I think I'm going to stick with my safe bet of last week, which was Jimenez. I do see him getting a goal against Villa. Villa looked down and out. They looked like they had positive start to their games, but I think the attitude is seeped in. I think they've admitted they're going to go down. So Jimenez it is for me. And again, a safe pick if that scares you too much, like Karan mentioned that he only had one shot last week. I would then definitely look at my other option, which is Bruno Fernandes again. Brighton, we've lost. United has lost the last 2 away games at Brighton. But Bruno, I think, will be rested against Norwich and will play less minutes. So Bruno would be the safe bet for this week's captaincy. Any closing comments by y'all?
Just best of luck, everyone. That's all I can say in the FPL world.
The best game of the week, I think, is going to be City-Liverpool. And we've not spoken about Trent because, Trent's a given. He is a big game player. I think he averages 7.6 points per game against the top 6. So don't be surprised. If you really want to go out on a whack, on a limb, whatever you call it, you may even go so far as to captain Trent. Who knows? He's definitely not getting you a clean sheet this weekend. But there's assist and goal points to be had for him.
So that's it, guys. Don't listen to you. Listen to your gut, coming from his own commandments of last week. So I think that's it, guys, for this week. I think we've done a good job covering our picks for y'all. The consensus is that, yes, stick to your Wolves players, at least in your defense Also, stick with the Liverpool assets because they will get you an assist in terms of Trent or a goal. And KDB will still be pivotal for City's line of attack. So don't forget to hit subscribe, guys. Let us know how your game week went. If our picks helped you or not. If they did very badly, please talk to our top 2 experts, not me. See you guys. Bye-bye.